Hi everyone, Richard here at Calvin Wazoo, and I'm bringing you another end of the year video. So happy Christmas Eve to you, wherever you are in the world. And this idea for this video I actually got from Craig at Craig's Vinyl Plethora, and he's also one of the Gunkles. So if you haven't checked out the Gunkles, you really ought to. But anyway, what Craig did on his channel is he went through his 22 favorite buys in the year 2022. And I thought, yeah, you know what, I can do that. I bought a lot of records in 2022, and I really got some good ones. Now, not all of them, in fact, most of them were not released in 2022, but I bought them in 2022. A couple of them are releases from this year. But because I got 22 of them, let's get started to go through this fairly quickly as I get my other chair set up so I can set the ones I show off to the side. Okay, here we go. So they're not in any real order, okay? This is just the way I pulled them out, and as I was going through my Discogs list of all my acquisitions for the year. And so the first one I'm going to show is this one, Aphex Twin. All right, so this is the Selected Ambient Works, 85 to 92. I've been hearing a lot about Aphex Twin, mostly from Stunty, and I heard some fragments of their material, but I really wanted to get some. And this was his recommendation in terms of a place to start, and a lot of other places that I went through. It was the most common recommendation as a place to start. So I bought this, and wow, I just really, really like this. So glad I got this record. Double album. So yes, this is definitely one of my favorite acquisitions of 2022, Aphex Twin and Selected Ambient Works. Obviously, that's a reissue. I often don't buy very many OGs. Another reissue that I picked up this year is the new mono reissue of Pink Floyd, and their first album, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. I have a stereo mix, but I do really like this better, the mono. Recording engineers, yeah, they knew what they were doing, etc. But really, stereo was kind of a new thing. And while it worked with the equipment at the time, as equipment got better and more powerful, some of those early stereo mixes really, to me, they don't sound as good, especially in terms of placement on the sound stage with some of the instruments. And so this one here, the Pink Floyd original mono mix, is the one that I want. So I picked that up this year with I saw this reissue, and I thought, great, because then I don't have to spend an arm and a leg for an OG. All right, one that I did have to plunk down some money, to find a decent copy of this is Neil Young's Psychedelic Pill. Really happy that I brought this into my collection this year. It is a really, really great album. And, I could probably put it up there with, among my favorite Neil Young releases. So, yeah, Psychedelic Pill. Wonderful album. As it says on there, it was mastered by Bernie Grundman, and it was pressed at the Palace plant in Germany. Now, this is a band that I just went on a collecting frenzy during 2022. So I've got just about every vinyl release that they have in their catalog. I'm just going to show this one here. The band is Toe, Japanese math rock, post-rock band on this very cool vinyl, color vinyl. FYI, I am doing a ranking of all their vinyl releases. That should be, you know, in the next couple of weeks, I should have that ready. But Toe, fantastic. I am so glad I got these records in my collection. Something that I knew about this band, but it wasn't until I saw a rockumentary about the concert for Watts. It was a commemoration, I guess you could say, for the Watts riots, but it was a few years later when they had the concert. Just a ton of great acts. I picked up some records based on watching that concert, and one of the records, I picked up two by the Barkays, but this one I'm going to show, and this is Too Hot to Stop. Tell you, man, this is some serious funk. This is really great stuff. So the Barkays, I am really glad I saw that rockumentary, and I am so glad that I picked this up. So that is definitely one of my favorite pickups of the year. Something that I found in a store in Missouri. Really glad I have this now in my collection. The Supremes A Go-Go. And, you know, this is a stereo release. It's a reissue. You know, it's on the Motown label, an early reissue. But to find this for like $5 in really good shape, listenable shape, was really quite a find because, you know, OGs of this, I don't know, the price may have come down because the price is kind of collapsing with a lot of vinyl recently. But, you know, for a while, this was just, you know, a $300 record, you know, and I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get a copy of it. But I was so happy that I managed to pick that up. So glad, one of my favorite acquisitions of the year. Now, another band that I've heard Stunty talk about a lot, and he's really piqued my interest. And one day I just grabbed a record and bought it and started listening to it and found that, wow, I really like this. This wasn't the record. I've added some more this year, but this is the one I'm going to show. It's Nurse with Wound, and this one is Homotopy to Marie. So there's some reissues coming out of their material. So very, very cool electronic avant-garde, musique concrète, electronica. You know, everything is different. Every album is different. But I am really, really happy to have these in my collection now. So yes, 2022 was the year that I started picking up Nurse with Wound. This one is a reissue of a record that has gone way up in price for the OGs. You know, when I first saw this or first heard this and I started looking up, you know, pretty much an OG was the only thing available. There were I don't know if there were any repressing. By the way, this is Nucleus is the band, a jazz fusion band, and the release is called Alley Cats from the 70s. But yeah, it was like $40 at the time, the first time I looked, and I was thinking, you know, that's kind of expensive. Maybe I'll wait and see if I can find a cheaper one. Well, now the price had gone up to well over $100, approaching $200, and I'm like, oh Jesus, I'm never gonna get one of these. But then they reissued it, so very cool, and very cool label. I have a couple records with a similar label like this, but Alley Cat, very good jazz fusion. So glad that's in my collection now. All right, and another one that heard about from Stunty quite a bit, and that is the band Coil. And this is a reissue of Backwards, and it's called the New Backwards. So it's got the original material from the original release backwards, plus some extra material. Again, I have other records that I picked up this year by Coil, all really good, all really different. But you know, I was going to show this one. This has just got some really incredible songs on here, or pieces, I guess you could say. You know, Nature is a Language is probably my favorite track on here, but all really good. It's a 3-album set, and if you like electronic and ambient and trance, and you know, even a little bit of techno with some of their material, Coil, man, Coil. So glad this is in my collection now. All right, adding to my my collection of R.E.M. Don't have everything they got on vinyl, pretty close though, and I have other items that are on CD. But I saw this in a store, and so I grabbed it. Really nice shape, R.E.M. This is Chronic Town. This is their debut record. It's not an it's not an LP, it is an EP. So it's not generally thought of as their first release, but it is the first thing that they released, and it's a great record. This sounds really good. So glad again that I have this, you know, in my collection. Definitely one of my favorites. And finally, I get, not finally as in this is the last one I'm going to show, but finally I get an OG copy of We're Only in It for the Money by the Mothers of Invention. And you know, I balked for a really long time at picking one of these up because they tended to be, you know, not too expensive, but for the quality and the condition that they were in, it wasn't always the case. This cover, you know, has got a lot of wear on the front. It's got a hole punch in it, but it's, you know, the wax that is in really almost near mint condition that I picked up. So it's on the Blue Verve record. This is the issue that there's no visible distinction between the tracks. It just looks like all one continuous groove. So really great. This is the stereo release of this. So glad, you know, this is definitely one of my favorites, favorite additions to my collection from 2022. You know, a record from like what, 1968. All right, the next one, this is a record from 2022, and it's a compilation by Stereolab, and it is a 3-record set called Pulse of the Early Brain. I picked this up because for the first time ever, I also was listening to Stereolab. Went to see a show of theirs here in Chicago, and just absolutely incredible show. And I ended up getting this record at the show. It is a numbered one. This is number 1451, you know, big deal. But yeah, really great. So glad this is in my collection now. And I look forward to picking up some other Stereolab records. The one in particular that I want to get is Super, gosh, you know, I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, all right, I looked it up and I'm going to remember. Super Deluxe, is that it? You know, it's also an EP, but it was their first release. I really want to get that probably as my next one. Okay, back to some revolutionary soul music, and that is The Revolution Will Not Be Televised by Gil Scott-Heron. And I was, you know, moderately familiar with Gil Scott-Heron, but again, it was watching a documentary that was on Apple TV about the year in music for 1971 that really got me much more interested in Gil Scott-Heron And so I picked up a couple of his records this year, and this is one of them. Great record. The revolution will not be televised. All right, this next one is a blind buy, and wow, what a great blind buy. All right, Juan Wauters, and the album is North American Poetry. Juan Wauters is kind of a punky folk singer, this with a bit of a South American style. He was born and raised, well, I don't know until what age, in Uruguay, but then moved to New York. But this is such a great album. So happy that I'm just blind buy that I picked up and got this, because it is really good album. Yeah, check out his stuff on YouTube. I think, if you like that kind of music, you will definitely like Juan Wauters. Okay, I am really glad this is in my collection, and it's a box set. So it is the War box set with Eric Burdon in War. Just an amazing collection of the records that he did with Eric Burdon did with War. I have also this was a record store day release, and I also have the other War box set that was a record store day release as well. And I'm just so happy. They sound great. The sleeves, all really nice stock, very glossy photography and artwork. Super, super nice. And I am, again, as I've been saying, really happy that I got this, in my collection now. So here's one that I also just happened upon in a store in Missouri, and I had to get it. I loved the cover. I've talked about this record quite a bit on some other videos, but this is DJ Tiesto featuring Maxi Jazz, and it's the Dance for Life 12-inch single. Just love that cover. And, it's on the label as well. It was a song for fundraising for the Start Dancing, Stop AIDS feature or whatever. Excellent. I really do like it. It's a fun record, and I am so glad that I have it. Now, this is one that I bought from the Alternative Tentacles website, as I bought some other stuff. Really didn't know anything about this record, but I knew about the main person featured, and that's Jello Biafra, the dead Kennedys. And this is Jello Biafra with Mojo Nixon, and it's the Prairie Home Invasion. Again, really happy I got this in my collection. What an album. What a fun album. It's just Mojo Nixon too. I mean, listening to the material that he's featured on, it's kind of like, wow, I'm going to have to check out some Mojo Nixon. But definitely very glad that this is in my collection. And then I didn't buy this from the Alternative Tentacles website because they just never had it. But I did finally pick up No Means No, the album Wrong. One of my, this is my grail purchase for the year 2022. So happy that I found it with all the, original inserts that go with it. And the wax is in really great shape. Yeah, this is some great hardcore punk, post-punk. They are from British Columbia, Canada. No Means No. Yes, this is, wow. This might be my best acquisition of the year. All right, getting close to the end. This is another Japanese band that sometimes gets, categorized as a math rock band, Mouse on the Keys. They're a little more on the jazz side. Toe is, you've got the the polyrhythms, etc., that's associated with post-rock and math rock, you know, with the drummer, and then they have a couple guitar players. With Mouse on the keys, it's keyboard players as opposed to guitar players, but the same, style of drumming. They do a few more songs with lyrics. The very few songs with Toe have lyrics, and but yes, it's been so hard to find affordable copies. Unlike Toe started re-releasing their catalog on vinyl here in the US on a new label for distribution. So the records just started showing up a lot more frequently than they had in the past. Mouse and the Keys is still more challenging to find. So I was so glad when I found this, An Anxious Object. Really, really great stuff. You should check it out. This album, I knew all about this band for many, many, many years, but I never had anything by them on vinyl. And then they had a reissue. I don't know if the reissue was this year or if it was, it was reissued this year in 2022. And it's Morphine, Cure for Pain. Man, what a great record. What a great record this is. I mean, what else can you say? I mean, so minimalist. So it's just like you're in a smoky beatnik jazz bar, when you're listening to them. Morphine, Cure for Pain. So glad that's in my collection now. And getting close to the end, this is a record that I wanted to get for so long, and the problem was the only sellers I could find in Discogs were in Great Britain. A few sellers had this record that were on the continent in Europe, but it was all, overseas. And they weren't cheap. And then you add the shipping. And it's like, no, I gotta wait for a U.S. seller. But then a friend of mine found this copy while he was in England. He went to Wales, and he found this copy and bought it for me. And that's Scissor Sisters to Da. So what an exceptional record. So the first two records of Scissor Sister are just absolutely freaking amazing. I mean, the rest of their catalog, which was all only released on CD, is good too. It's really solid stuff. But these first two records, oh my gosh, the eponymous one and then this one, To Da. Great records. They were a much bigger hit in Britain than they were here in the U.S. And they're from the U.S., but it's too bad that they really didn't hit it as big here as they did over there. And then my last one of my 22 for 2022, this could also be, my favorite acquisition of the year, and it's Mdu Mokhtar, Sosame Tamachek. This is an incredible album. Mdu Mokhtar is an incredible guitarist to begin with, but this record is absolutely incredible. It's much more on the acoustic side. Side A has a little bit of like backing guitar, electric guitar, and even some of the main melodies or whatever are being played on electric guitar. But then the side two is much more acoustic. It's just amazing. It's psychedelic for sure, but it's not as intense maybe as Ilana the Creator or Afrique Victim, which are just like really in-your-face hardcore electric psychedelic rock blues. This is just so much more refined and beautiful and ethereal, and it's just fantastic record. So I'm doing in the last year and a half, I've seen him 3 times live here in Chicago. This is somebody that is, as soon as I find out that, when he starts touring again here in the U.S., I'm going to be picking up records. Got some notifications coming in on my phone. As you can hear, I better silence that, even though it's the end of the video. So there you have it. Those are my 22 favorites for the year. So I'll just, let's see, go quickly through them again. We've got Mdu Mukhtar, Sosame Tamachek. We've got Scissor Sister and Tada. And then we have Morphine, Cure for Pain. And then we have Mouse on the Keys, An Anxious Object. And then we have No Means No, the classic album Wrong. And then we have Jello, Biafra, and Mojo, Nixon, Prairie Home Invasion. Love this record. We got Dance for Life, DJ Tiesto and Maxi Jazz. Great 12-inch single. And then we have the War box set, the Eric Burdon in War, superb collection, and absolutely stellar pressings. Then we have Juan Wauters, North American Poetry. We have Gil Scott-Heron, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. And then this compilation by Stereolab that was released this year, Pulse of the Early Brain. We're an original stereo issue of We're Only in It for the Money, Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention. The EP Chronic Town by R.E.M. This reissue triple record set reissue by Coil, The New Backwards. This Jazz Fusion, Nucleus, the record Alley Cat. This is a reissue. Much more, you can get it for less than $30. Check it out if you like Jazz Fusion. This is brilliant stuff. Then Nurse with Wound. And this is Homotopy to Marie. Classic Motown, The Supremes, A Go-Go. And then some serious funk with the Barkays. The Too Hot to Stop. And the Japanese math rock, post-rock band Toe. This is the record Hear You. Neil Young and Psychedelic Pill. The mono reissue of Pink Floyd's Piper at the Gates of Dawn. And we started this off with Aphex Twin Selected Ambient Works, 85 to 92. So there are my 22 favorites from 2022. Hope you like that. Leave some comments in the down under if you have any other thoughts or opinions about any of the records that I showed, or maybe some others, that favorites of yours that you picked up in 2022. Remember that you can find me on Instagram as NewsDude76. That's NEWZDUDE76. And hey, like, subscribe, Really welcome all of you watching and enjoying my videos. So glad that you find them entertaining. And remember to pray for the people inside your head, for they won't be there when you're dead.